District attorneys are the gatekeeper of the legal system. They decide whether or not white-collar crimes, public corruption, or police officers will be prosecuted. They determine how their office will assure that they comply with discovery laws to make sure that defendants and victims have due process. And they also investigate lawyers and judges. But sometimes district attorneys who are elected officials themselves have a difficult time prosecuting and even investigating the lawyers and the judges who donate to their political campaigns and who protect them from being removed from office.
And you haven't done anything at all about private judging. And you are friends with these people, and you know Catherine Gallagher is doing the worst harm in this community with private judging in secret, and what you and Jim Towery did to Judge Persky is shameful. You got him recalled to get Cindy Hendrickson on the bench. I have the emails, 573 of them, Mr. Rosen. And you think that keeping the public safe is what you're doing?
Private judging is when attorneys act as judges. They're elevated to the bench simply by agreement by the parties, usually parties duped into agreeing. And once an attorney has all of the immunity that a public court judge would have, they are paid to do their job, which makes what they do ripe for bribery and corruption. And yet the district attorney in every county in California is ignoring the crimes that these attorneys are engaged in.
Santa Clara County District Attorney.
So I met so many people here throughout the years from 2012 to 2016 before this courthouse was moved to downtown San Jose. And I remember where I was when I met everyone. I remember the court clerks that gave me information about David Yamasaki stealing palm trees from the courthouse landscaping. I remember the litigants crying over what was happening to them and their children in the family court. And I remember Judge Grilly and how incompetent she seemed. And I also remember Judge Towery, which we're going to talk about later, but he started here in this courthouse as well in 2011 after he was appointed to the bench. And I remember specifically this area because I met Joanna Sullivan. She was a doctor at the VA hospital in Palo Alto, and she told me about Brad Baugh and his representation of her during her divorce case in front of Judge Grilly.
And just as every county has a district attorney, they have private attorneys that you pay for criminal defense, civil lawsuits, civil rights lawsuits, or divorce attorneys. This is Bradford Baugh. He was a divorce attorney for some of the most powerful individuals in Silicon Valley. And sometimes what Bradford Baugh got out of a divorce case wasn't just money. He got information, and he also was allowed to commit crimes with impunity because the district attorney never prosecuted him.
I was responsible for the death of enough people to assure my place in hell.
District attorneys in a community are public officials, often elected to office, and it is their job to apply the law equally, including on attorneys who commit crimes. It is not their job to sit in private clubs with them at taxpayer expense.
I can have a private conversation.
You're in a public space, Mr. Rosen. You should know there are no private conversations in a public space.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Thank you. All right, we'll talk later.
Okay, sounds good. Was it in gray?
What'd you say?
I just said he's direct.
Oh, okay, thanks.
It is the job of the free press to watchdog the government, which means watchdogging the elected judges, district attorney, and the police officers we pay to do the work. It also means watchdogging all the government attorneys and private attorneys that work in our legal system. But as the free press gives way to a media that is more entertainment and hedge fund-owned newspapers, that is happening far less.
Bother you at all. It didn't bother you at all. And tonight you just basically said you kept laptops after the county asked you to return them. And you said that may be stealing. That didn't bother you? It doesn't bother you to steal public resources?
We recently discovered, through a public records request, a secret bar bench media police committee that had been happening in Santa Clara County for over 30 years. But for the last 10 years, that committee had primarily invited the district attorney and held political forums. The public paid for these meetings but wasn't invited to attend, and only certain judges, lawyers, police officers, and reporters from hedge fund-owned newspapers or entertainment companies such as NBC News were invited to attend. And they discussed the criminal justice system in these meetings. They discussed local elections and matters of public importance, but there was no record of what was said or what they did in those meetings. And the judges who presided over these meetings and caused these meetings to happen had a duty to disclose them. They had a duty to disclose that they were meeting with police officers who could be witnesses in criminal cases, or with private divorce lawyers who they could award attorney's fees.
Then,
Yeah.
you know, it was that floor, right?
Yeah.
where
Here's
you
the
drive
first
in.
floor. Yeah.
Most disturbing was our find in the records that reporters were going to these meetings and eating dinners at taxpayer expense, because the reporter's job in a free press is to watchdog the government, not sit and have dinner with it. And we had trusted these reporters, taking them information, thinking that they would report that information to the public.
Hi, we're going to the New York Times to the 12th floor. I don't know if I need to sign in. I think you left.
You have your ID?
I do. Hi there.
Can you get in? Are you visiting the Times?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
thank you.
Who are you visiting?
Di?
Oh, cool.
A few months before we met the cop watchers, we went to the New York Times with our information on the private judging story. They asked for exclusivity. They were going to provide the information to the public, and then they decided to kill the story, most likely to tell a story that the judges wanted told about how the courts work. The First Amendment protects the free press and largely citizen journalists and the public interested in making sure that they have transparency to hold their government accountable. It does not protect large media companies and corporate-owned newspapers who engage in deceptive business practices, nor does it protect lawyers engaging in deceptive business practices related to their business.
Okay, Deanne, so you're looking for records related to how the Minors Counsel, Heather Allen, appointed in your divorce case,
Right.
is being paid from Santa Clara County. Went to the county seat and you asked for those records and they told you to come here over on Julian.
Correct.
And just now you met with a supervisor, Robin Rivas Romano, the custodian of records.
Right.
And did you hear her say that all the records she has here are not public records, they're confidential records?
Correct.
And so are you getting the runaround trying to find these records?
Yes, she just said we had to go back to the county where the board of supervisors is.
I'm Michael Rossi.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
I have Heather Allen as minors counsel on my case.
I'm sorry.
Heather Allen, minors counsel.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Attorneys appointed in criminal cases or in divorce cases to represent children or act as private judges are private business attorneys, and their business is subject to public oversight because they are given immunity to do their job, and as such, the public has a right to watch how that job is being done. The public right to know is absolute, including in our courthouses. The public had a right to know what judges, prosecutors, and police officers were talking about with reporters off record, especially since the public paid for those dinners. Those meetings tainted trials, headlines, and elections, and we intend to report on that in 2023 because no member of the public should be locked out of a public courthouse, especially during business hours.
I'm sorry, I'm going to need your badge number and your name if I didn't get that.
Not a problem. Same name I gave you last time.
I understand that. I'm getting it for this time. It's
REY.
REY
1712.
1712. And I want to be clear, you were ordered to keep me off the 8th
No.
floor.
That was not ordered. You tried RSVP. You got an email.
You gave her.
I just want to make sure that you're saying I'm not allowed to go on the 8th floor right now. Is that true? Or do I have the ability to go on the 8th floor?
Do you have business on the floor?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact.
What's your business name?
My business is...
To be clear, the public doesn't need an invitation to file complaints or to access the courthouses they pay for.
reporting on who's going in and out of a private event that is a matter of the interest to the public and the people. I'm sorry? What?
Legally speaking, the press and the public are to be treated the same. We don't need invitations to attend meetings in public courthouses during the middle of the day when judges, police officers, and district attorneys are present with other reporters.
You do not have a right to search me?
I didn't touch you.
Good. Don't touch me.
Seize your phone and ask for a search warrant. So
Go ahead. You want to seize my phone? You want to seize my phone? You know I'm a member of the media. Would you like to seize my phone when I'm telling you I am news gathering right now?
I didn't.
Again. What does your sticker say?
What's the sticker say?
Freedom of the Press Foundation. Say it again loud. Freedom of the Press Foundation. Okay,